Hear me. We're good to go.
Just give me a green check mark in Blackboard.
Perfect. Good morning. I hope you guys had a fantastic break. I was just, before I came on live here, you should have seen me. I could not stop yawning. So hopefully, did anyone do anything fantastic over the break? Unfortunately, all I did was move. So I am not exciting. I didn't even feel like I had a break. I'm so tired. So hopefully at least some of you did something exciting and made up for my boring break. Good, Belle. Thank you. That makes me feel so much better. That somebody at least did something exciting. Yes, Abby. And it's horrible. Since my husband threw out his back and I had to do all the lifting. Oh, Avery, at least you're making money, right? That's okay too, Ava. Hanging out with families, great. We did that as well. My parents came down from Prince George and visited, so that's good. Visiting families, always very nice. Oh, Devin, from where? Where are you driving 10 hours yesterday? Or Sunday. Hopefully it was somewhere fun. All right. And it looks like we've got, yeah, that's all right. Good for you, Devin. I know my husband made a trip there too overnight as well. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm hoping that yes, you had a break from your schoolwork. But now it's get back at it time. And I'm hoping that you did do a little bit of research. I'm crossing my fingers for your Heritage Fair projects. Now, you still have some time. We do not have to be done all of your research yet. Okay. So, make sure that by April 14th, everything has to be done because remember you guys, April 14th is your science midterm and your Heritage Fair all on one morning. Okay. So April 14th is the big next date that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So today's lesson, what I wanted to go on is, basically how to build a powerful exhibit. So I know a lot of you are probably still in that research phase, and that's great. But I want to get to the point of where you guys are heading so that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, where you should be heading with that research. And then in the next class, I think what I want to do next class, ladies and gentlemen, is next time I see you, is actually do a little bit of one-on-one with each of you. Where are you at? What have you completed? What can I help you with? That sort of thing. So today though, I want to talk about how to build a powerful exhibit. So you can see the cartoon in the background here. And again, this is in the assignment as well. You guys, I want to do a quick little reflection on this cartoon. So take a look at it. Take 30 seconds to think about it on your own. Then what we're going to do is we're going to partner up and just discuss a connection that you have made to this cartoon. All right. And then we'll share in the chat, afterwards. So if you could, so Abby, that's what we're going to talk about today, right? So if you guys, as I'm partnering you guys up, take a look at the cartoon. And then with a partner, we're just going to take like 2 minutes to discuss a connection that you've made to the cartoon. So just from the participant list, you guys, I'm just going to go down and you guys can partner up. So we're going to go Abby and Alex, Anna and Anthony, Ava Avery, Belle Bria, Devin Haley, Savannah, Shayna, and Taylor. You can message me. All right. So just discuss a connection that you've made to the cartoon, and then we'll share in the room. All right. So take 2 minutes, you guys, and discuss with your partner. Good, you guys. All right, finish up your thoughts, and then I am going to bring up the room here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And just into the room chat now, tell me why, and maybe it didn't come out in your conversation with your partner, but let's have it come out in the room chat now. Why it's so important for to have a visual presentation. What is the importance behind that? So let's take a few minutes and just in the room chat, if you guys could each answer that, that would be fantastic. Good. Oh, good. I'm glad you wrote that, Anthony, because I saw you chatting with your partner about that, and I was hoping that you'd bring that up. Absolutely. And I think that ties into what Abby even stated earlier, right? About how her writing was getting so long and it won't fit on the presentation, and how am I going to do this, right? Concise and clear is a really, really important part of a visual presentation. And we want to make sure that that is going to happen for your Heritage Fair projects. Okay? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Anna. So it's that visual representation actually makes it more enjoyable. It's more attention grabbing, which I think Avery said earlier, right? And actually, when you guys are presenting, right, to myself and to others, it actually gives you guys visual clues as well, right? So you're not just going off the top of your brain. Okay? Absolutely. So not only do your words mean a lot in your project, but also the pictures that you include, right? All those different things. Remember too that a Heritage Fair project, and we'll touch on this a little bit in later classes as well. Absolutely, Devin. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of us, when we learn, visual is really, really key. It may not be our main way of learning, but I think it enhances our learning so much, right? It brings it to that next level. So another component of the project, you guys, is you do have to have some creative aspect to the project as well. And again, we're going to go over that as time goes on. So not only does it have to be visual, but it does have to have that creative aspect as well. So now, what I'm going to do, you guys, is I'm going to make this full screen so that we can go through it. And again, this is in the actual assignment, because I know you guys are going to go back and reference this. So I made sure that I put it into a Google slide so you guys could actually watch it again in the assignment so that you guys can see. Okay. Yes, Abby, I have. Yeah, there's a great TED Talk. I'll bring up so you guys know what I'm talking about here. Abby just asked if I knew what unschoolers was. Yeah, basically, Abby, there's a great TED Talk by an 11-year-old little boy. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's very much the poster child of this unschooling trend that's beginning, right? So anyways, but when I get back to my office, I'll send you the link. I'll see. Yeah. So you know who I'm talking about, right? Yeah. He's a cool little dude. He's a snowboarder or a skier. Anyways, I'll send you guys the link when I get back to my office. It's a great TED Talk about learning styles and schooling. Okay. And yeah, it definitely ties in to even what I'm trying to do around Heritage Fair project, right? You guys are tapping into what you're passionate about, right? Absolutely. So your guys' projects is actually exhibiting a piece of history, right? With the story that you're trying to tell. It's more than just a display board, okay? We actually do want to think of it as a mini museum, all right? That's kind of where you want to focus on your presentation aspect, all right? So remember that when you visit a museum, you're greeted with the panel that announces the main idea of the exhibit. And it sets the stage for everything that will follow. Okay. So remember, just think about if you guys have actually visited the Kelowna Museum here, right? When you walk in, you can tell there are main themes that they have throughout the museum, right? And when you walk through a museum, it almost tells the story of whether it's the First Nations or the settlers or the fur traders, whatever the exhibit is, but it tells a story, right? And that's what you guys are going to do. So when the first thing that's really important, you guys, is that title, right? You want to make sure you create a space that uses that eye-catching graphic, right? It reflects the theme, the time period, maybe the topic that you're talking about. Really use colors, shapes, visual cues that really organize your different sections of your exhibit. And we're going to go over those sections today as well. So these are just some examples, you guys. And when you visit the BC Heritage Fair website, they've got some great resources, you guys, of what projects look like, past winners, and how they've set up their projects, all those different things. So these are just some of, Abby, absolutely. Because remember too, a lot of your Heritage Fair projects, you guys, when you present them, a lot of your writing is going to come out when you actually talk to the people that you're presenting to, right? So they're not going to stand there and read everything that you wrote. They want to hear from you. So you need to make sure that you have the presentation. Yes, you still do have to have obviously writing, as you can see from the examples that I'm going to be showing you. But yes, concise is a good thing. No, Avery, it's not a lot of people. It's going to be one person. Okay. So we're going to have, because there's going to be quite a few of you guys presenting though, right? Basically, it's like a science fair, right? I'm assuming, I know even some of you guys have actually done a Heritage Fair before, right? So really, it's only going to be one person coming up to you and talking to you. There may be lots of people coming around and looking, but only one person will really sit down and like talk to you about your project. Okay. So, oh, Alex, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this experience though. All right. So a great way to organize, you guys, your presentation as well is with subtitles, different shapes. Like say if you put your writing on a back piece of paper, and using labels, and that can actually give you guys visual clues as where your story leads. Okay. That's really important too. Each segment or section of the exhibit should tell a different part of the story that you're going to focus on. All right. That's really, really important. And most function the same way. So when you do a Heritage Fair, you're basically the curator and the designer, okay, behind your project. So remember, what do curators at a museum do? Well, they conduct the historical research to answer a question, and that's what you're working on right now. They form an interpretation or thesis, so they basically answer that question. Then they develop a story, they write the label text, and they select the primary sources and artifacts to support that interpretation or story. Okay? So that's what curators do, and that's kind of where you guys are at right now, that whole research answering your question phase. Whereas the designer, this is the next stage. This is how they show the stories that the curators come up with. And they are the ones that develop a well-organized and imaginative exhibit that reflects and reinforces the curator's interpretation of the story. Okay? So that's really the two mindsets that you need within your Heritage Fair project. All right? Before your design begins, you want to make sure that you make an outline of your project, write the text, and do the layout before one finger even touches your board. Okay? Make sure that this happens because you don't want to just randomly be throwing text up onto your panel board, right? You want to make sure that it flows nicely, it's understandable, okay? And that story's being told. Make sure you show your draft to others to make sure it's logical. So show your parents, show a sibling, right? If you even want to take a picture and send it to me, okay, that sort of thing. You are more than welcome to do that as well, okay? So here's your parts of an exhibit. You need to start with a title, okay? And your title should really be the overarching topic that you have. It can incorporate your question, okay? Your question that you came up with. But then you need an introduction, right? You need a conclusion. You need the subtitles, right, of each section. And you need the label for your interpretation of the information, okay? You need primary sources, or basically your sources as evidence, okay? So whether that's secondary or primary, okay? So those can come. Yes, absolutely, Anna. You should be keeping a list of all your sources that you use, whether it's from books, whether it's from websites, whatever it is. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So you want to keep track because one of aspects too of this, you guys, is a bibliography, and we'll be going over that in the next couple of classes as well. Okay. Now remember, as a visitor or as an audience, this is what we wanted to see. We want to see when the first thing that we see is that overall design, the title, and the introduction. Okay? So that's really, really important. Yeah, that'll be perfect, Abby. Absolutely. So Belle, I just noticed you asked a question there. What kind of subtitles do we use? That's going to depend on the story you tell. Okay? And we'll come to that in a second because it's going to be different for everybody. Okay? So now, most people for their Heritage Fair, you guys, use that science fair kind of design, right? Your dimensions have to be, 72 inches tall by 40 wide by 30 inches deep. Okay? Now, it's that 3-panel exhibit. It's the most common form, but you guys, you don't have to. It's not required. I would say the majority of people do the display panel. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can do PowerPoint, you can do however you want, but you're in charge of how you're going to present this, okay? If you're going to do a PowerPoint, you're in charge of bringing your technology with you to the day of the Heritage Fair. All right, that's really, really important. I actually here in my office, ladies and gentlemen, actually have some display panels for you. All right, if you want. So I can't remember exactly how many I have. When I go back to my office, I'll count how many I have, and it's basically going to be first come, first serve. If those of you that want to do the 3-panel exhibit, okay. But you can easily go to Staples. I think even the dollar store has them. Okay, they're very inexpensive. I don't want you spending a lot of money. Okay, absolutely. So Abby, that's a great addition as well. And that could be your creative aspect, right, to your project. Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to bring a piece of technology that, showcases a slideshow of pictures or whatever it is, that would be considered your creative aspect. Yeah, absolutely, Abby. Yeah, that's a great addition to your project. Okay, so again, the goal of the Heritage Fair exhibit is to effectively communicate your interpretation of your project, okay? So again, this is just an example of how this student, right, creatively shows their project, okay? So he actually did a head of an immigrant to hold the memories of his native country. So this was this student's creative aspect, all right? So you guys, again, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be this. It's your guys' creativity is going to shine through for your own projects, all right? So this design reflects make sure your design reflects the topic of your project, okay? So this student did a project on Emily Carr. So he actually created, almost like that nature looking background for his project. So you can see it really reflects who Emily Carr was as an artist. Okay, and it reflects that. And that's really what you guys want to focus on as well. Okay, it's visually interesting. So you can see that this student brought in a lot of props as well, right? And she even dressed up as a firefighter. So that would be her creative aspect of her project. All right, so be aware of that. Okay, remember, we want your design to deliver your message. Okay. I've already showed you guys this one in the background as well, the whole Japantown project. Okay, so think about this, just in the room chat, you guys. Why did the students select these colors for this project? Okay, do the colors fit the topic? Okay. Yeah. Yes, Alex, right? So can you guys see how important it is? Yes. Good, Taylor. That's right? Which is an important aspect. It's an important aspect of Japantown. Yeah, absolutely. So it really reflects the topic of the project, right? So we really want to make sure that the colors fit, your layout fits. That's what's important, okay? So, good, you guys. Now, so what potentially, if this was our color scheme, okay? If this was our color schemes, all right? Choose one that you think, what would these colors symbolize? Could you guys think of some topics that maybe these colors, these color combinations would symbolize? Just type it into the room chat, you guys. Good, absolutely. But Abby, also remember too, so maybe how would we connect then France to a Heritage Fair project, which is based on Canada, right? Yep, absolutely. Yep, the loyalist, right? Absolutely. Good. Yep, could have been doing something maybe on Quebec separatism, something like that. Absolutely. What about the other color blocks? Good. Maybe something environmental. Okay, maybe if there was some like African heritage, Alex, is that what you're getting at? Good. Excellent. Okay, so now you guys can see right? Good. You guys can see that the importance of color combinations that reflect your topic. All right. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Another thing is your fonts. Okay. Always use readable styles and the black type for labels. So for your subtitles, your labels should be between that 16 to 24 font size. But look at the actual sizes in different styles. Which is more readable? Okay, so you guys can see in the background, I've actually changed my size, right? Changed the font. It makes a difference. So you really want to make sure that it's readable, okay? That's really, really important, okay? So font size, important. Here we go, Abby. This is going to address what you were talking about. Avoid too few or too many words. Neither communicates effectively. So you can see on my left, right? This student chose basically almost all images with like one sentence little write-ups. Okay. Versus on my right, you can see this student basically looks like they regurgitated a dictionary. Okay. And nobody wants to go to a heritage fair to read. We want you guys to be able to communicate effectively. And that is through your presentation and also through you guys speaking. Okay. So exactly. Concise needs to happen. Just because when you do your research, you find all these amazing facts or you do not have to include every single aspect of your research. All right. And we're going to address that in a second as well. The products of your research, your analysis, and your writing are what count and the most in your exhibit. Okay. That's where you're trying to get to. So the title sends your message. Okay. You want to make the title snappy and informative and hint at the argument that viewers will find in the exhibit or the answer to your question, right? Belle, let me look into that. We should be able to. If you're still if you're thinking of, if we can only print on 8 by 10, let me look into that, Belle. I'm pretty sure we'd be able to hook you up. Okay. So you can see this profile. Yeah, but Taylor, you do want to make it a little bit more interesting, right? Like you can see that this student, right, he did a biography on Larry Kwong, right? And discrimination was no match for this Canadian hero. Okay. So you can see that really is snappy and it catches the eye, right? So here we go. So hopefully this helps you out, Taylor, a bit. Yeah, exactly, Devin. He doesn't have a question, but he answers the question within his project. Okay. So here's some examples. Instead of just saying Iranian immigrants, right, as a title, there's your topic, right? What you could say is if you were looking at a personalized story around a specific Iranian immigrant, right? How a revolution changed my life and yours. Okay. That really grabs the attention. Okay. Or instead of Michael Schrader's bicycle journey, how about Michael Schrader, one pedal at a time, right? That is snappy and it catches people's attention. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your question. Maybe your question becomes a subtitle, right? Or a subtopic. Okay. Or you put it into your introduction, right? How you guys lay it out is up to you. Yes. Good, Abby. Yeah. It leaves people wondering, right? And they want to talk to you about that project. Okay. Then we get into the introduction, and that's the roadmap to the exhibit. So that's going to be where everybody starts looking at your exhibit. This is where you establish your context to your project. the change and the significance or the impact of your topic. Okay. So again, maybe in the introduction, this is where you want to house your essential question that you guys came up with, right? Because you're giving that one sentence that gives the big idea to your exhibit or your thesis statement. Okay. So basically, and here's some guidelines. Abby, here you go. Okay. The largest label on your exhibit, which should be the introduction, the longest one, should be around 100 words. All right. Now I don't want you guys word counting. All right. No one's going to dock you marks if you have 120 words. Okay. We're just saying it's in a guideline. All right. There you go. That's a great title, Devin. Okay. Then there you go. So then there's no real need to write that subtitle or label, right? You can easily think of using your introduction as a different font or a different size. Maybe put it on a mat, right? So that it really showcases where that introduction is for your project. Okay. Now, make sure your strong thesis statement. We worked a lot on these in English, you guys. You should all be keen and easy on how to do this, right? Make your specific argument or interpretation. It has a really narrow focus. It's supported by the sources, right? That are part of going to be your display. Okay. And it can be communicated in 1 or 2 sentences. Okay. That's really, really important. Okay. So make sure you're organizing it by sections that present your interpretation of your question, right? It should kind of tell a story. That's kind of what we're hoping. So you should have some subtitles, then the labels that go underneath those subtitles, right? With your main content and your primary and secondary sources. Okay. That support those, things. Okay. So the subtitle, which has an interpretive label, and it's a variety of sources all connected to the story. Okay. So for example, this student did obviously almost like a biography on a famous Canadian woman fighting for acceptance. So obviously this must have been like from the suffragette movement, right? When women were looking for being part of society, fighting for the right to vote, that sort of thing. And you can clearly see all the different aspects of her story. Okay. So your subtitles are your guideposts, okay? They guide the viewer through the exhibit and establish the main points of your argument or your story that you're telling, okay? And then the labels actually tell the story, okay? They usually consist about 50 to 75 words that develop the interpretation of your evidence, okay? And each label should communicate one main idea, okay? So you can use a primary or secondary piece of information, whether it's a picture, whether it's a quote from one of your sources, whatever it is, and you need to interpret that piece of information and how does it fit into the story that you're trying to tell. Okay? So strong labels, they focus on one idea. They use active verbs. Okay. They provide explanation and analysis, and they move the story forward so that it leads to that conclusion. Okay. The sources directly relate to the label text. So if you're going to use an image, right, make sure that you're connecting that image to your story, to your interpretation, right? Don't just randomly have images and quotes up on your board. You need to make sure that you are interpreting them. How does it fit into your story that you're telling? Okay. So I want to go through a couple of labels, right? So here's your label. As industrialization began to sweep across Canada, the new factories began to hire children since they could be paid less. Why did parents agree to deprive their children of their childhood? To help support the family. Now, that's the label. Here's the sources. You could use some photographs, right? So how could these pictures, right, be used as evidence for the interpretation? What can be found in these photos to support what was said in the label? Okay? That's where you guys need to focus, right? So look at these two pictures, you guys. How could it support that, the industrialization, the aspect of industrialization? Okay? Can you guys see the connection there? Just type into the room chat if you guys can see some key evidence, how that supports. Perfect. Good. And so that might, Abby, that might be one of the questions that one of the panel members maybe asks you, right? How does this evidence support your interpretation? And that's what you're going to come up with. You need to make those conclusions from your sources. Okay? So that's really, really important. Good. All right. So you can also use cartoons, right? Political cartoons during the time that maybe you're looking at, right? Again, this also supports that notion of industrialization. And you guys may not know, but this is child labor. It's a reference to child labor and how the government treated children at the time, right? But that's another great way. So images, editorial cartoons or political cartoons are another way for you guys to have those sources. Quotations, we talked about, right? Quotes from primary sources can actually bring the voices from the past, right? And be very, very powerful within your presentations. Okay. And again, from secondary sources, it can add to your argument or reinforce what you're trying to say. Okay. So you can see that this quote also supports that the idea of that industrialization, right? And why parents would send their children out to work, right? They needed to help support the family. You can also use posters, flyers, okay, that you may find, okay? So, and you can even use, if you find something even from modern times and try to connect it into what supports, right? That's really, really important, you guys. Okay, so you can see this, this idea here in the background around industrialization, the stop child labor. It's even happening still today, right? In parts of the world. So that's really, really important as well. So, a successful exhibit, in-depth research, a clear interpretation, interesting and relevant sources, a compelling story, and it has that visual design and layout that reinforces your message. Okay? When you put all of them together, okay, you have your mini museum. All right? And that's where you're trying to go with that. Yeah. So Abby, if you, I think students do it in a multitude of ways. Okay. So if you want to do, quote, where you've got your sources from, to your specific labels, or if you just want to make a whole nother section where you have a bibliography, and that's where you've gotten all of your research from. Okay. Again, you guys, visit the website, bcheritageFairs.ca. There are some great examples of powerful displays, powerful exhibits that you guys can go look at as samples. And I think I've actually linked it in the assignment as well. Okay. Yeah, Anna, as long as you know that you're able to produce it so that the panel members know that, you didn't just randomly make stuff up and that you actually did some research, that's totally fine. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's the end of my presentation there, you guys. So again, this slideshow, you guys, is in the assignment. Okay. I've actually given you a student sample where how they've created. They've went from their project idea to their big idea to their storyline of their exhibit. So that would be each of their subtitles with their labels. And then, again, we've created that. There's no assessment. You guys are not handing in anything for this assignment. It was basically just to get you guys started on your poster boards or your presentations. So what I'm going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is that's the end of the live classroom. I'm going to head back to my office. And I just want to keep chatting with you guys, maybe on an individual basis. Where are you at? Are we on track? That sort of thing. Okay. So give me about 10 minutes. If you guys need to take a break, give me about 10 minutes. I'll head back to my office, get back into Blackboard, and I'll start meeting with you guys one-on-one. All right. So we'll see you guys in about 10 minutes.